I think we're well protected. We have
I'm not surprised at all. Again, if he had not been inside the hotel already, and let's say he wouldn't have made it through the exterior ingress door, perhaps he would have decided to shoot people at the doorway. But because he was already inside, he had, at least one terrain feature ahead of anybody else from the public that would have had access. Quite frankly, I don't believe that he was able to get that close. I've been in that hotel. That's the infamous hotel where Reagan was shot in 1981. The United States Secret Service knows that hotel very well. They've set up this layer of security in the security plan for decades now. And I think that last night's security plan went according to the way it was supposed to. Again, I don't think that he was ever in any imminent danger. And I think that the men and women of the Secret Service did a very good job at addressing his erratic behavior. If you watch the video, you can see as he's approaching at a rapid pace, the officer that is in uniform is the first to draw his weapon. He sees something coming at him, but that happens so fast. I've seen, and I've been watching, comments online, and people are saying, well, how did he get past the checkpoint? Well, did you see how fast he was running? The officers and the agents have literally split seconds to determine if this guy is a threat or not. They may not have been able to determine if he was a threat outside of just the speed in which he was moving, if he had a weapon, if he didn't have a weapon. And so, again, I think that the plan worked. The concentric layers of security worked last night. In my experience, the only time I've seen that level of concentration of cabinet members is at the State of the Union. I would say that it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. This president is different. He does kind of what he wants to do, within reason, obviously. But I would say that it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. What is it concerning? Yes, I think it's concerning that there were that many members of the cabinet there. But I think it's a testament of the trust and that the president has in the United States Secret Service and the men and women there. This individual had traveled from California to DC. He knew that the White House Press Correspondents' Dinner was going to happen last night. He was residing for, we don't know how many days yet, but we have been told preliminarily that he was a guest there. And so there was a certain level of pre-planning here. And I am certain that once we dig deeper and we look into this individual's digital footprint and his behavior, that there will be signs and symptoms and patterns of behavior and leakage that would tell us that he was in crisis, and which is what led him to do what he did last night. It appears that this individual pretty much had a squeaky clean background. He appeared to be an academic. He was a teacher. more than likely, when his name was run on that guest list of guests at the hotel, there was probably nothing that flagged the United States Secret Service or the FBI that would indicate that he was a problem. You know, when you've got a hotel that is that large and you have that many guests, yes, they're going to do their due diligence to see who's there, to see if it's a known subject that, has made or expressed interest towards the president or any of the protectees that are there. But in this particular case, I think what we'll find through the investigation is that he was a squeaky clean individual, teacher, academic, been radicalized in some way. I think where we could probably do better, even 2 weeks ago, I learned that the president was going to be attending the correspondence dinner. I myself, having worked in the space for a long time now, managing a company that does risk assessments, I thought to myself, is it smart for us to broadcast that the president's going to be at the correspondence dinner, after a decade of a sitting president not going? And so I would say that would really be my only negative feedback, is that perhaps the president's movements should not be broadcast. Yeah, I mean, it's textbook lone wolf. Like I said, once we get into the ability to analyze his digital footprint, I think we're going to see that there were signs there. And then once the FBI starts conducting their investigation and interviewing neighbors and friends and family, there will be people who have had concerns. And I think that's where we have to get better as Americans, is that, listen, when we, long are the days where we can just say that it's someone else's business, because, due to the political rhetoric and violence in this country and globally, I don't think we're going back to where we were. I think this is going to become the norm. And so therefore we can no longer sit back as Americans and just say, hey, that's someone else's problem. It's not my problem. It very well may be your problem. And we've got to get better at, when we know that someone's in crisis, that there's erratic behavior occurring, that there's radicalization, whether it be politics or whatever it is, you've got to intervene.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角。KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。